You're listening to Something Cheeky, a collection of podcasts where two sisters discuss TV, books, and movies with just enough irreverence and far too many pop culture references. Welcome to Something Cheeky, the Gentleman Bastards edition, where we discuss the Lies of Locke Lamora, book 1 of the series by Scott Lynch. I'm Nikki.
I'm Rosanna.
Today we're covering the 5th interlude, Jean Tannen. In this episode, Locke gets a well-deserved beating for a chubby little boy with a hot temper.
Yep.
Rosanna, what do you consider a revelation from this interlude?
Well, first I'm going to say about your intro.
Oh,
Locke totally deserved the beatdown he received.
Did.
But we'll get back into that later. But I just wanted to point out that was a legit conversation piece. Okay. So the big revelation, of course, in this interlude is how Jean got to become a gentleman bastard. Lost his parents in a fire, which is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Very sad. Obviously a sensitive boy. And grew up comfortable, as we talked about before. He's smart, he's educated, and just kind of got, unfortunately, put into a bad situation through no fault of his own or his family. He just bad things happen sometimes.
What was your favorite quote this time?
The quote that I picked is not about Jean. It's Locke talking to Jean about him being an orphan. And Locke says, well, my mother's dead. I saw that. I know that. But my father, he went away when I was very little. I don't remember him. Never knew him. And I picked that because it made me think about in the chapter right before this where he said that the Grey King looked familiar. And now he's saying his father went away when he was very little and he doesn't really remember him. So
it's official that you think the Grey King is Locke's father?
I mean, how could you not? Right? They're back-to-back chapters. And maybe not necessarily that he's his father, but it makes me think that maybe Locke knows the Grey King from a time when he was very, very young. So could be his father, could be like an uncle, like maybe looks like his dad did, so he looks familiar, but maybe he can't place where he knows him. Also makes me think that whether the Grey King is his father or not, I think his father's alive.
Okay.
So I just feel like that little tiny bit that he gave Jean really opened up a lot of possibilities for the story.
So into the action, we meet Jean, and he is large even at 10. He speaks 3 languages. He can do complex math. He has got a lot going on.
I love Jean.
Yeah.
I loved him before, now I love him even more. This little interlude was exactly what I wanted from Jean. I mean, none of it surprised me because he is the person that he became because of these things.
Yeah, and he already started out ahead of the boys in some other ways.
A lot
with
of ways.
The languages and all that.
The languages.
That too. That's just another word for language.
Is it? Nikki, you're always teaching me things.
Oh yeah, just don't ask what language it's from.
So yeah, he started out way ahead of these guys. Definitely.
Also, he was only in Shades Hill for a few days.
Which I don't understand that. Why?
The Thiefmaker thought he would be super helpful. I think it makes sense. I wouldn't be surprised if the Thiefmaker bought him purposefully to sell him to Father Chains.
But did he not think that he would be of any benefit to him?
I don't think so.
Okay, maybe he doesn't want the Smarties, he just wants the quickies.
Well, a kid that is that educated already and has had that much exposure to other people in a merchant kind of life, he's got way too much going on to be able to be a thief. He's not going to be beaten down nearly as easily as these other orphans.
Also, he might balk at the ethics and morality.
Oh, yeah.
A lot more with Father Chains, or with the Thiefmaker than the way Father Chains does it. It's a lot more subtle.
And he has such a hot temper, and he's also so large and can fight kids.
That's true.
That I imagine he and the bullies that were keeping things running mostly would have serious issues, and that could cause a lot of uproar for the Thiefmaker.
That makes sense. So you think that the Thiefmaker bought him purely because he knew he was going to make a good profit, because this is the kind of person Father Chains wants?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that he would have been useful otherwise.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Unless Thiefmaker needs an accountant, I don't think Jean would be good for him. So
I could see him in his little glasses with his little book.
The little green visor.
Yeah. You know what, though? So here's another question that I don't think necessarily we got an answer to. Mm-hmm. Why was Jean in the position to be bought? I know he was an orphan. I know his family died. So apparently he has no other family.
That's what it sounds like.
No aunts, no uncles, no cousins, no grandparents. Mm-hmm. No friends?
Yeah.
I mean, his parents owned a shop. You would think that they had friends that would take in their son. I mean, you know what I mean?
I know. He seems like he'd be useful to other merchants.
Yeah, or even just like, hey, I had this really good friend and she and her husband died and they had this 10-year-old son and I'm going to take care of him because I'm a good person. He had nobody?
Apparently.
It's just horrible. I mean, it's really sad that there was nobody. And then also that if you have nobody, you're automatically up for sale.
It's also possible that there was no chance for anyone else to take him in. There was a fire. His parents died. The whole shop burned down. Whoever it is that comes to deal with these sorts of matters could have just taken him away at that point and not given any sort of chance to ask around to see if anyone wanted to take him in. It could have been a yellow jacket who saw some profit in selling off an orphan.
I guess, but he's not a 5-year-old child. I mean, he's 10 and he's smart. Mm-hmm. So say he's at Shades Hill for what, 5 days? Something like that?
It just said a few days.
Okay, a few days. Then he goes to Father Chains, so he's in town-ish, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe he'd say, hey, by the way, I know other people. Can I go stay with them?
Yeah.
He didn't even mention it.
I don't know.
Suspicious. But he's a really good character that I really like a lot. So I'm glad that he did end up in a situation that worked out for him.
Yeah.
I mean, he did get turned into a thief, but he is happy, love, comfortable. He has family. You know what I mean? So, I mean, at least he got that. But it's very sad to me to think that there's this kid that was comfortable and raised well and smart and educated and all this kind of stuff. And then he just got sold. You know what I mean? It's just sad. It's sad.
In most stories, this sort of character would be the protagonist, not Locke.
That's so true.
Can you imagine if they switched that, if Scott Lynch had written Jean as a protagonist and his sneaky, cunning friend that he followed along with and kept getting in trouble because of him? I can definitely see that.
I feel like that is a way more typical story, which tells us even more about how great Scott Lynch is for writing this story.
Yeah.
I mean, because it could have gone either way. It really could have. Mm-hmm. And there aren't a ton of stories where I like the supporting characters as much as I like the main character.
Yeah.
And this is definitely one. I really like Jean a lot. It's very accurate that it could have been a story about him.
Yeah.
One of the things that I love about Jean is that he, not in personality, but as a character, reminds me of Ron. And I love Ron. I mean, Ron is one of those people that I like as much as or more than Harry.
I've seen little pieces of things people have written. If the books were written with Hermione as a protagonist instead.
Yes, which is so good.
Love that.
Oh my gosh, those are the best. Mm-hmm. Hermione is the greatest character in the history of literature.
That is
it's a bold statement, but I stand behind it. I love her. I saw this fan drawing. What do you call those? Mm-hmm. When fans draw, illustrate stuff.
A fan drawing?
I mean, it's like fanfic, but it's not. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Anyway, it is Hermione and Belle standing back to back, like in a library. And Hermione's small, like from when Emma Thompson was in the actual movies. And then Emma as
Emma
Belle.
Thompson?
Watson, sorry. I always do that. Emma Watson tall as Belle. And they're back to back and they have their books and they're in a library. And I'm just like, they're the best. I love Hermione.
Get along.
Well, yeah, even in one of the interviews, somebody asked Emma Watson about, do you think that Belle and Hermione are similar? And she's like, yeah. They're smart. They love to read. They're independent. I love Hermione. She's so great. Mm-hmm. Oh, I want Sabetha to be like Hermione.
Okay.
I have nothing to base that on.
There was this little side note about Locke and Callum Galdo learning Phaedron from this drunken sail mender. I really liked that little piece. It was just such a funny little story about...
And I love that he just kept getting mad at them and just yelling at them.
But it was such a great way to have someone learn an exact accent.
Oh, definitely.
Just having someone correct you constantly.
Yeah.
Though that
somebody that doesn't like you.
Yeah. Paid in wine.
Mm-hmm. And that was also a great answer to a question that we had last time. How does Father Chains know all this stuff to teach them?
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't
He
know
outsources
everything.
it.
He knows the right people, which is so smart. Good for him.
Yeah. Oh, on that note, Sabetha gone again on some educational trip.
Uh-huh. She must be the smartest person ever.
Yeah.
She's always away at school.
Very well-rounded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, gone again. Again, we don't get to meet her. Were you frustrated when you saw mention? We're like, she's still not here.
I'm beginning to think that we may never meet her.
Oh, no.
Every single chapter in Interlude, she'll be somewhere else. We'll get to the end of the book, and it'll be like, no, we never did see her. I hope that's not true.
I worry that Father Chains, because the boys don't get sent away. And granted, she's, I think, a couple years older than them. But, yeah, I think at one point it mentioned she was, a couple of years here and there. Like, it was when Locke was, 13 and she was 16 or something.
Okay.
I worry that Father Chains keeps sending her away to do things because he doesn't really know what to do with her because she's a girl.
That could be.
Because the boys, he has plenty of things for them to do, and I see no reason why she couldn't also do those things.
Yeah, why couldn't she stay there and learn all those languages the same?
Or has she already? How long has she been with him? Has she been longer than the Sansa twins? I don't know.
Is she his daughter?
Oh my god.
Dun dun dun.
Dun. I'm not sure that the age would work unless he knocked up somebody after he was the eyeless priest.
I don't know
Because
why
I don't
he
think she's
couldn't
13
have.
by this point. Well, that's true. I guess they don't know. They didn't have to know he was the eyeless priest.
No, and he went out wherever he wanted all the time. Also, is there not a single woman in this entire town that could have taught her something? Why did she always have to go away?
Well, that could make sense to me. Because of course it doesn't work with the boys. So I was thinking that would make sense because he doesn't want people to know that he's training someone.
But yeah, then he wouldn't have had the boys there.
Right, the boys are there though, so that doesn't work.
Yeah, it's suspicious. It could
It
be that
is.
he doesn't know what to do with her. Or it could be that there's just a really good place for her to go that, I don't know.
Or does he have really specific plans for her and she can only get that education and knowledge that she needs to fulfill those plans from other places?
I also think it would help if we knew her history, where she came from, how long she's been with him. If she wasn't with him from a really, really young age, where did she come from? Is her story like Jean's? Did she have parents? Does she have other family somewhere else?
I'd love to read a book where she was the protagonist.
Yeah.
And we hardly see her, but there's obviously so much going on with her that I'm sure Scott Lynch could easily fill a book about her.
Yeah, I'm getting really nervous that you're talking like that because I feel like I'm not going to get any information about her because you want information about her. Or are you just tricking me?
I would never admit what I was doing. Just like I will never, ever tell you what I've gotten you for your birthday.
Have you already gotten me a birthday gift?
I have no idea what you're talking about. Is your birthday coming up?
Kinda. I mean, it's a little ways away still, I suppose.
I've gotten half of your birthday present.
Half? That's weird.
What could it be? You'll find out on your birthday.
It's one shoe. Because you've gotten half.
Oh, I got it. That was just terrible.
All right. The more of this book I read, the more I want to read. Because I don't know anything.
That is such an amazing... It just shows how good of a writer Scott Lynch is, though, because he is giving us such tiny little tidbits.
Yeah.
But they're so interesting that you're dying for the rest of the information that you're missing.
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, this is just not working for me and stop reading, which
Right.
is what I've done before.
And honestly, like, if we weren't doing this, I would be done with this book already because
you would be on the third one by now.
Yeah, I want to know these characters. I need more information.
Let's get back to Jean.
Okay.
He cries at night, which makes me feel so sad for him because obviously he is very sensitive. I mean, of course, anyone would cry who's just lost their parents.
Right.
But it just really hits home there.
Yes.
So sad.
Yeah.
And then the fight.
Oh, Locke, he's such a little jerk.
I know. And granted, he doesn't realize that Jean just lost his parents a few days ago.
Oh, here's
But
an idea, Smarty
still.
Pants. Ask.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not a secret. Just talk to him. Oh, he's just, well, we're all orphans here. Well, some of us have been orphans longer than 5 days.
Jeez. And remember their parents very well, unlike others.
Yeah, I'm glad that Jean knocked him around.
Yeah, and did you see that coming? Because he started out so meek in the chapter, and then he lost that temper and threw Locke across the room and then punched him after that.
I didn't see that. And you know what's crazy, though, is that for Locke being as smart as he is, he didn't see that either.
Yeah.
And it really shows that no matter how smart he started, he had a lot to learn about people.
Mm-hmm.
He really did.
He seems to have learned a lot.
Well, he certainly learned how to not get beat up by Jean after being beat up by Jean.
I wouldn't be surprised if throughout their teenage years this happened a few times again.
Oh, I'm sure.
Maybe before Jean got the Wicked Sisters, and not
I
after.
Hope so.
But...
You know, it kind of reminds me, and I'll just go really quick off topic and a little bit of a personal story, but the things that Locke needed to learn, it reminds me of something that my husband says to the kids all the time. He says, when you're dealing with another person, especially somebody that you don't know super well, not people that live with you, but people at school, if you're having a hard time with a classmate or with a teacher or whatever, he says, remember the 80-20 rule. What you get from people is 20% of them, and you don't know the other 80%. You don't know the rest, and that's something that I think was important for Locke to start to learn, that you have to look beyond your first impression, look beyond the surface. There's so much more to people, and you're not going to be able to be friends with them, be in a relationship with them, steal from them, trick them. You're not going to be able to do any of that stuff if you don't look past that tiny little 20%. And I think this was a really good first lesson. If you don't look past it, you're going to get your butt kicked.
I mean, thinking back to the last chapter, that makes me worry that the Grey King knows that 80% about Locke.
Oh, I think there's a very good bet that is true. And Locke doesn't even have 20% of this Grey King. He's got 0.5%. But at least he's got to the point that he realizes that is true and it's a problem.
Yeah. Though he's still overconfident about all of it.
Still very cocky, yeah.
We get to see the determiner's box, which is basically a really fancy calculator. And Jean is really fast at it and starts just beating Locke all over the place. And answering all the sums.
And Locke's so mad.
Oh, he is. Apparently he's been putting on airs recently, according to Father Chains.
And he's more mad at Father Chains because he's saying he's not making it fair. He's more mad at him than he even is at Jean for being good.
I think Locke is mad at Father Chains for forcing Locke to realize that he is not the best at everything.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And it's a great lesson by Father Chains, too. To say, yeah, Locke, you could be really good at something, and somebody else could be even better at it, and it doesn't matter if it's fair.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just not better. Sometimes you're just not the best.
And he says that sometimes Locke is not going to be the right man for every single job.
Oh, I love that.
Be. You have to have different people. And sometimes Jean's going to be the perfect person. Sometimes it'll be the twins. Maybe if Sabetha ever comes back, it's her. But yeah.
And we have seen that in the later chapters, that sometimes Locke's not the best for the job.
Right.
And this is where he started to learn that.
Yeah, it's nice that I feel like in this chapter we learn just as much about Locke as we do about Jean.
That's true, yeah.
About how he has become the man that he is in the chapters from the interlude.
Yeah, I really like that that's the way the book is written, that we get these interludes that are so telling, of what is happening in the chapter is directly related to this history of him growing up.
I appreciate that Lynch put everything in the interludes in order, but they hit it just the right times where it's completely relevant to the chapter.
Yeah, definitely.
That must have taken a lot of organization to get that right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Jean needs glasses. But they're only for people with money, so he can't wear them in public.
And he needs really specific glasses that
Locke
doesn't realize is a thing.
Which is so sweet that he stole glasses for him. And Locke almost blamed it on... Well, he did. He blamed it on the glass maker.
Yeah.
Optometrist? I'm not sure what you would call that person.
Maybe.
But he said he didn't watch his stall as well as he should have. So it's his fault that his merchandise was stolen.
Victim blaming!
Yeah. Locke does apologize, which I appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said earlier, we found out he may not even be an orphan.
Mm-hmm.
He saw his mother die, which sounds terrible. What do you think happened to his mom? I mean, he says he saw her die.
I would guess she's sick. She got sick.
Oh, okay.
I would just get, like tuberculosis or what, I don't know, whatever sickness people got.
The Black Death.
The plague, yeah, it could have been some sort of plague because it didn't kill kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
So not that specific one that brought him to Shades Hill, but
yeah,
maybe before that. Maybe she had, I don't know, maybe she was a, woman of the night. Maybe she had an STD.
Ooh.
I don't know. I hope not.
She was killed by an STD.
Well, yes, there are STDs that kill you. I can't think of any because I'm a good, pure woman, but...
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that.
Like the coughing up of blood, something.
Is that... There's
Okay.
an STI that causes that?
Isn't there?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm hoping that it wasn't that she got murdered in front of him, okay? That's where I'm going with this.
See, I thought it seemed sudden, just the way that he said it, but there was
not.
no real indication of what happened to her.
I'm going to continue to live in my nice little bubble where she just got sick.
Where people die from coughing up blood from an STI.
Okay,
That's
I
a
didn't
nice
say
bubble.
it was an STI. I said it could have been. But that's better than being murdered.
I don't know.
Isn't it?
I think it depends on how drawn out that death is if you're sick.
Maybe she got stung by the venom of a scorpion hawk.
Ooh,
Oh.
turning it around.
Yeah. I don't know what happened to her. I'm sad that Locke had to watch it, but I guess he got closure. Like, for sure she's dead. Instead of always wondering, like, someday my mommy will come to the graveyard and take me home with my daddy.
That's a sentence I don't think I ever thought I'd hear.
Like little orphan Annie. But instead of being
In the
stuck in a
graveyard?
mansion, she's stuck in a graveyard. Yeah.
I don't know why that just makes me think of France. All the old stories about the men who would wear the masks over their noses because they had syphilis.
Ah.
And that eats away at your nose.
Ew.
Yeah. And they would take mercury, so that would end up killing them also. It would help the
Gross.
syphilis, but then they would die from mercury poisoning.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, if time travel is a thing, and you ever go back in time to France in, I don't know, 1500...
And someone is wearing a mask, don't have
do
sex
not
with
sleep
them.
with them. Don't do it.
Okay,
It's
good
a
to know.
bad idea.
I mean-
Unless you have penicillin with you.
Even if I had penicillin, I probably wouldn't.
I imagine you'd probably have to become a woman of the night to survive in...
Oh,
why am I saying woman of the night?
I beg your pardon. I'm educated. I
Okay,
can write and read.
Question number 1. Do you speak French?
Oh, there is that. No, I don't.
Oh, there you go.
So,
That's going to be your first problem, I think.
yes, I think I would need to move immediately.
Oh my god. Okay, back to the story.
Back to Jean.
Yes, Jean. Sweet, sweet Jean. I love Jean. Also, he wants to do death offerings for his parents, even though it wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
That just makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Until he asks Locke to teach him to steal so he can do death offerings for his parents.
Yeah.
That's not quite the same, but...
His heart's in the right place.
Yeah. He's gonna get thieving lessons from Locke in exchange for tutoring him in math.
Which is a great idea because they are each good at those things.
And it'll give them really good time to spend together.
Bonding.
Now it's time for a montage of 2 little boys running around. Jean getting caught, oops, and then running away. Locke distracting somebody so Jean can get away.
Oh, and then Locke putting on Jean's glasses and making fun of him. Ha ha, I'm Jean, look at my glasses.
And then Locke touching his wicked sisters on his back.
And then getting punched in the face.
Yeah.
Yay, montages.
Oh, we need more montages in movies. Every movie should have a montage.
I couldn't agree more.
So next week, we're going to read Chapter 6, called Limitations, and the following interlude called Brat Masterpieces.
Oh my gosh.
Any predictions based on the name? Limitations. And I just love Brat Masterpieces. That is a fantastic title.
Limitations. They're just limitations everywhere because everything's a mess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know what else I could say about that. Brat masterpieces. I don't even know what to do with that. That does not seem like the kind of language I mean, has anybody called anybody else brat?
No.
No, it's a weird
They
word.
have way more interesting insults.
Yeah, it just, that doesn't seem like a word that is like a common adjective. Not it's not an adjective, it's definitely a noun.
Maybe it's short for bratwurst.
Oh, bratwurst,
and they're making sculptures of bratwurst things.
No, I don't think that's right, Nikki.
So who do you think the brat is in this interlude that's coming up?
Who do I think the brat is, or who do I think brat always is? I mean, I know the brat is definitely Locke. Locke is a brat. But also so are the twins. But the masterpiece, I don't even know what to do with that.
Could it be another magnificent con? What a masterpiece. I probably shouldn't say that because it sounds like something that might be a spoiler, but I don't remember what happens in the next interlude, and so it's okay right now.
So it would make sense that the next interlude talked about more application of the things that they're learning.
Okay.
So a trick or a con or whatever would make sense, but I'm not sure why it would be called a masterpiece or specifically a brat. I don't know.
I do like the idea that it could be the twins, and I'm going to read one piece from the interlude I didn't mention before just because I loved it so much.
Okay.
This is when they were all at dinner, and Locke and Jean had already had their fight, but they hadn't made up yet. It says, Locke and Jean maintained a healthy distance from one another at the dinner table that night, saying nothing. Callow and Galdo exchanged exasperated looks approximately several hundred times per minute, made no attempt at conversation themselves. They are such good little brats. I love them.
They are good. It's funny, though, because to me, the twins don't seem like the kinds of kids that would be exchanging glances but not actually saying, wow, this sure is awkward.
Yeah.
To me, it seems like that's something they would love to point out. So I don't know if maybe they knew that it was going to set one of them off.
I think they have more emotional intelligence than Locke does at this point. And because Jean is still so new and everything is really raw for him.
So they're being nice.
Yeah, I think they are.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They seem like the kind of people who, in any other book, would be presented as stupid but funny. But they have so much more depth.
Yes. Yeah.
It's nice.
I mean, they're Fred and George Weasley. What are you going to do?
Do you have any other predictions about things that are going to happen in the future or the past for the interludes? I know you have no idea about the chapters. We talked about that. But for more about Locke's past, do you have any ideas about how things will continue?
As always, I'm still hoping for an appearance by Sabetha in one of these interludes or chapters. I'm gonna guess we're probably going to see Jean start to move from the shopkeeper's son to learning about the thieving and the tricks, and maybe see him in action as he's being trained. And probably, to me, he seems like the kind of guy that is also going to be a teacher. He's going to help twins and Locke learn the other parts, not the thieving part, but, the languages, the etiquette, the appropriate behavior, that kind of thing. So that's kind of what I expect to see.
He could actually be a really great resource for another thing Father Chains would want them to learn anyhow is just the kind of the merchant level of society.
Just how to act. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can see that could be something else that he does.
Yeah, you'd need the information between the poor people and the nobles.
Yes.
You'd need another layer just to work in general with people.
Yes. Yeah.
Convincingly.
Yeah. And I think, too, that something that might be good as a merchant or posing as a merchant is, you might have these nobles that are talking to each other, not paying attention to the quote-unquote help. And it might be a good way to get information. Yeah. If you're posing as somebody that doesn't, matter.
Well, man, in any sort of TV show or book, it seems like that has the upstairs, downstairs kind of situation. Yeah. Downton Abbey style. Yeah. And even the book upstairs, downstairs. It seems like the servants know so much about what's going on because the people that employ them don't really notice that they're ever there. It's like they're not even people.
They're invisible.
Right. And so they just will say things like nobody's listening.
Yes. I think it's definitely a really good way to get information, for sure.
That's our episode. Please leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter at SomeCheek.
And visit our website to send us questions and to learn about other podcasts. SomethingCheekyPodcast.com.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
La 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 da 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 da.